to our spring private PCAB meeting with our extra special guest, Dr. Santelises, this evening. We are grateful for everyone's time this evening and for everyone being able to join us. And we are also grateful for our special guest this evening, who we will have a series of questions that we will ask and go through there. So I will get us going on our um, first piece here. Am I sharing my screen? Okay, let me do that. Hold on. Okay. Excellent. So just as a reminder, please join us for our PCAP end of the year public meeting. This is going to be a celebratory dinner where we're inviting our families, friends, everybody to come out. We're going to be at Unity Hall on June 19th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. This is the time to hear what we've done in PCAB over the year. We'll also do some quick re-elections on everything and get everybody in place and just celebrate the work and hear from you all as a community. So this is an in-person meeting. We will not be on Zoom and YouTube and everything else. We will be in person, breaking bread together, and we are welcoming you to come out and join us, please. Let me get to my other screen here. Our agenda, we'll have our Q&A with Dr. Santelises, and then our general announcements updates. But tonight is all about Dr. Santelises and the questions that she will answer for us. So Dr. Santelises, I did see you online. Make sure that you are here. Yes, there you go.
I
How
am
are
here,
you?
sir.
How are you doing? Of course, great to see you.
It's always good to see you as well. My apologies. The Zoom for these meetings always throws me a little bit because we do Teams, but it is fabulous to be with you all tonight. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm just going to grab my notes real quickly, and I will just say good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us, of course. And I'll jump right into our first question without further ado. So, leadership insight. Reflecting on your tenure as CEO of City Schools, what were the most significant challenges you faced, and what key advice would you offer your successor to help them navigate these challenges effectively? If you're on mute. Sorry.
So and this is great because this is the second time today I've had similar questions, so I appreciate this. So I think one of the biggest challenges, and PCAB members, leadership, you all know this, and we do have, I'd say the challenges are navigating the impact of systemic underfunding within our buildings, our capital projects, the state funding, because of the work of partners like PCAB, many of our electeds. I want to shout out, Baltimore City delegation. I'm sorry, is this muted? I'm hearing, is it muted for folks? I did see a
For me,
comment.
it's clear.
Oh, okay.
You're coming
Okay.
in clear.
Okay, great. But I would say there is an ongoing challenge around funding, and it's not because it's a present challenge, but it's just a present threat. And by that, I mean, we're finally with Blueprint so much closer. And I just want to say thank you to the parents, to the advocates. I was thanking elected officials like our Baltimore City delegation, just, have been wonderful. Senate President, the comptroller, a lot of folks outside of Baltimore City who saw what needed to happen. Maggie McIntosh, but also lots of advocates and parents and young people. And I was looking at some pictures the other day from my first year or two here in Baltimore City as CEO, when busloads of parents and young people poured into Annapolis to advocate for the funding to get our buildings where they needed to be further along. And we have made great progress. But I will say, moving forward, whoever the new CEO will be has got to keep his or her eye on that funding. We advocated this year, and thanks to the legislature, and the governor's willingness to rethink some of the provisions, the changes in the blueprint. I mean, I will just tell you there's a threat to concentrations of poverty dollars, but we were able to make that case. And we were able to make that case by sharing the impact. We had young people, Baltimore City high school students who came right after me and testified about the impact of those dollars. So I would just say to PCAB, to this community, do not rest on the fact that the blueprint is there. The next CEO is going to have to be watchful. Shout out to Melissa Broom, Chief Perkins Cohen. We had people who watched the wall. And that's how we've been able to secure and maintain the funding. But please, please keep watch on that. I think we are seeing in some of the reports back that we still have schools that will need new buildings. We have gotten so much further. There's been no more, days of 80 schools going down with their HVAC for either heat or air conditioning. We have improved in that. You have not heard about budget deficits. We have really pulled the reins. We've stopped, some of the practice of giving some people sweet deals and not others. And that has allowed us to maintain. I think that's really important, but it is a challenge. It's a challenge to continue to advocate. And I was saying this to a panel earlier today. I am proud of the fact that we have a richer education for our young people in Baltimore City than we did 10 years ago when we said 1,000 flowers bloomed. And, if one school wants art and another one doesn't, we said that was okay. And now we don't say that anymore. We say every young person should have art. We now have, at the time of the Freddie Gray kind of community response, in Freddie Gray's neighborhood, there was no Algebra 1 classes in middle school. And now there are. But we still have further to go. We still have further to go. I think there's great opportunities with our career technical programming, bringing those to more schools. We love our Carvers. We love our Mervos. But we have young people throughout this city that want access to some of those programs. And we are spreading them out so that schools like Ben Franklin and Patterson now have career pathways. So I would just say that I think the challenges are fiscal because of the state of Maryland's budget challenges. We still have challenges around facilities, and just because we're not in the news about it, the next CEO is going to have to remain vigilant. And I would also say the challenge of trying to switch to kind of new things around literacy and math. We have been recognized nationally for having the second highest growth in the nation in terms of academic recovery. We're still a long ways away from where we are, but I think the challenge is going to be staying course and accelerating the growth. We have grown every single year the last 10 years. It is now time to increase that growth. But PCAB should be proud that we are in a different place. We have more Black and Latino students than ever before in city schools. And I say that as someone who is here as CAO. We have more Black and Latino students in advanced placement classes than we have ever before. I apologize. I went out for a little bit because my phone is linked to my iPad and somebody was trying to call, so I had to tell them not now. But there are things that folks are going to need to watch. Watch Blueprint, watch the funding, and watch that the pieces that have made our district a richer place for young people to go to school. This is the first year, PCAB would be happy to know, we normally lose anywhere from 300 to 400 of our middle to upper income Black families every year. This is the first year where we did not. And that is, I believe, because we have more schools that are viewed as viable choices, but it is still not enough. So the fight goes on. And I'm proud of what we have been able to accomplish with the new CEO. We'll definitely have challenges ahead. But I am confident that PCAB really has played just a powerful force. You guys have always been my reality check. Always asking the real questions, but you need someone who, I said today, that my family's getting me a t-shirt that says Mama Bear Supreme. I am a mama bear, but I am a mama bear, not just for my 3 girls, but for the 75,000 students in Baltimore City. And it has been a tremendous pleasure, but you cannot have somebody who is milquetoast and who just wants to please people. You've got to have somebody who is going to fight for kids at the same time that we are building richer learning experiences. For those of you who don't know, Baltimore City's Vex Robotics team won the World Championships. And those are the things that give me joy, because our kids are doing amazing things when we invest the resources there. So make sure whatever resources are there continue to flow to the schools, because the temptation can be to give little favors to different people, and everybody in the city knows I don't do favors. That money goes to schools. And so please watch out. Please make sure that you support the new CEO and making sure that because that was not always the case in Baltimore. Different people got different favors. That is no longer the case. We make sure that money gets to schools.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and all that you've done over your tenure here. So thank you. Next up is Madam Devon.
Hello, Madam Devon.
Good evening, Dr. Santelises. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My question for you is, what avenues exist for parents to have a meaningful voice in district level decision making, and how can we ensure that parent feedback leads to actionable changes in policy and practice?
This is a great, great question, a very important question, and one that, I should be wrestling with, whether I have 14 months left or 14, whether it was 14 years. It's a great question. What I would say is that the avenues, and one of the pieces, and I believe it was in our last board meeting, Commissioner Esposito really pointed out and highlighted the need to make sure that our budgeting process really does give parents, families, the voice in what their school should prioritize. We've made improvement in that area, but I believe her questions and testimony a couple of nights ago really point to the fact that we have further to go in this. And I think parents need to let us know when they feel like they are not part of that budgeting process for all the reasons that I just finished answering. Budgeting is important. Money matters. Money is not everything, but it does matter. And so I do think school level budgeting, going to the district sponsored budget hearings and making sure that your school knows what the priorities are and what's important. That if you want enriched after school programs prioritized in the budget, make sure they know that. And I think at the school level, it's very important. And what happens, admittedly, and I think this is also part of the question about how can we ensure that parent feedback leads to actionable changes in policy. I think that, one big area of focus for PCAB. Certainly, it's not certainly the only thing you do, but during budget season, I can say this as a sitting CEO, that I would welcome PCAB's feedback and assessment, anecdotes about how we're doing and including parents in major decision making around budget, but also about things, the feedback that I get within the principal selection process. Now, even though that is still my final call, I weigh heavily what parent committees at schools say. And, credit to Chief High Cupboard and others who really drilled down probably about 3 or 4 years ago, really prioritized making sure there were strong SFCs in every school. I'm sure we have 1 or 2 places we really, still need to dig more deeply into, but we are much further along in having support for SFCs. So I would say that's another place. And I think, what PCAB hears and what I appreciate about this body is the trends. And if there are trends, you are in a powerful position to report that. And parents should report it to you and my ombudsman. And I will tell you, one of the things, this is one of the best examples, it was actually our ombudsman, Karen Lawrence, who was taking calls from parents. And most parents who call the ombudsman, it's because they don't feel as if the issue has been addressed. And I will tell you, it was because parents called the ombudsman that we gave increased attention to bullying. There are some folks like, well, maybe it's not as bad as we think it is, or this and that. And let me tell you, Karen Lawrence represents families. And it was Karen that flagged through your calls that, I remember she said to me, she said, Doc, this bullying thing, it's an issue. And it's not just the perpetrators, it's the victims. But she brought that as a trend because parents brought that as a trend. Same thing with some real punitive, prom graduation policies. We're not all on the same page. We don't have a kind of united point of view, but we were able to get more consistency because parents raise those concerns. And then in terms of actionable changes to policy, take advantage of, I know people don't think it's a big deal, but the school board does listen to public testimony. I know people don't think so. I do. I might be on my phone asking somebody a question, but oftentimes public testimony, even though we don't respond to you in the moment, sets off a flurry of activity. So we take seriously when folks come to testify. Those are always, and then again, the ombudsman is always there if you've got an issue that is personal to your child, not just the policy. And I would weigh in and I would surface those questions, but hopefully that answers your question.
Dr. S, if I can jump in and add one thing, do you mind?
No, please go ahead. Is that Tina?
So, good evening, everybody. Tina High Cupboard, Chief of Communications, Engagement, and Enrollment. I'm just adding in that PCAB has been the way to engage in policy. And I just so appreciate that the policy committee of PCAB has been vetting. We send our policy drafts and ask for review for PCAB. So those who are listening, you don't have to be an elected member of PCAB to be engaged. You can actually join the PCAB policy committee and have policy review conversations with the PCAB team and give that feedback. And that feedback is taken literally back to the board, right? When we do our rotation around feedback, PCAB's the first one on the list that gets engaged. So that's another great way. If you want to engage at the school level, you have this SFC, as Dr. S said. And then at PCAB, you have the district-wide level where you can also give that information. And I just want to thank PCAB for the past 2 years. You've sort of made that a rotation of what you all do. And we so appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. S, for letting me jump in.
No, I'm really glad you did, Tina, because I think that's a very important point and really gets to this heart of what are the real meaningful ways that parents can get involved. And you rightly point out that PCAB is a major way that happens. And I'm very glad, Tina, that you detailed what that actually looks like in real time. So thank you. Is there another question on that?
No, thank you so much.
Sure. No, thank you for the question.
Jason, can you change the slide? All right, how you doing, Dr. Sanselises?
Fine, thank you.
My question is about communications. So, how is Baltimore City Schools working to improve how students are portrayed in the media,
Mm.
particularly around their everyday successes and achievements? And then what proactive strategies or partnerships is the district using to share some positive narratives about students and schools, just combating those negative perceptions that we often see in local media?
No, it is a great question and one that we take very seriously. Chief High Cupboard, Andre Riley, and our communications team have really been digging in on this the past number of years of getting out our story. To your point, getting out the positive accomplishments of our young people. I will say, I want to give a shout out to former board member Michelle Bondima, who always really targeted this issue. And I can say today that I think we're much further along. And we're much further along because we're not waiting for others to tell our story. So we are leveraging social media, oh my gosh, 10, 20 times more than what we were before. We've won national awards for our social media. Tabitha is a celebrity in my home and in many homes across our city. And part of it is because she's active on social media. And on social media, we can tell our own story and we get major uptick. And I've had other superintendents over the years tell me, wow, we look at your social media and you caused us to raise our game. So I think social media is a major part. I think the other piece is, if you've noticed, the negative stories are generally coming from one news outlet. And so what we have done is majored with other outlets that actually are willing to give us a fair shake. And so you'll see on some of the Sunday morning news shows, folks like Jason Newton and others who do work to highlight the positive. And even I'd say print journalism, I don't agree with the banner on everything that they write, but they give us a fair shake and they will tell the stories. I think most importantly, we have gotten better at telling our own story. So you'll see in the Winning Wednesdays, and I have people all over Baltimore who tell me they read our Winning Wednesdays. And we have, if you walk through our central office, we have central office people who stop to look at all of the pictures of positive stories of our young people that are happening across the district. They're rotating on our screens throughout central office. We've also partnered with the mayor's office in getting out the word. The mayor is excellent on social media, so he partners with us on social media. There's some plans we have about getting the word out about our graduates. We do great work with our own comms team and college and career readiness team in identifying students to highlight. But the other kind of communication, which I referenced in my panel earlier today, is what I call barbecue cocktail conversation. And I say to people, don't underestimate the power of you in your sphere of influence when other people are like, oh yeah, city schools this and city schools that. What happens when you interject the positive stories and the positive data points? It really silences people. And I will tell you, when I was in the state legislature rattling off our accomplishments, that chamber was quiet, Republicans and Democrats. People came up to me after and said, wow, we did not know that. So I think one of the major things we're doing is we're giving our own families and staff the talking points of what's happening. And we're giving our own young people their voice. So, our student media team, the exponential expansion of student government, We have young people who are publishing locally and local organizations. So young people telling their own story. I had the CEO student cabinet this afternoon, and they were presenting a study to me that they did capturing young people's voices about the transportation issue. Even though the transportation issue is a challenging one, it was such a positive story because these were young people out capturing their colleagues' voices. So we are still working on that. We have really, to Andre Riley and the team's credit, they have helped to push at our school level and our central level, which was really changing a culture. And that was Baltimore used to talk bad about Baltimore. And I think that's less the case. And I've said on other occasions, nobody loves Baltimore more than Baltimore, in this sense that when Baltimoreans love on their city, people take notice. And I will tell you, I was just out in California for a meeting, which is why I might look a little bleary-eyed because it was a red-eye flight. And Chief High Cupboard can tell you, everyone there was talking about what's happening in Baltimore. And so, when the Education Recovery Scorecard came out, I had former state superintendents texting me in other parts of the country. We're seeing the good work that's happening in Baltimore, and it's paying off for kids. And I think it's important to be blunt. I turn off the station that doesn't represent us well, and I turn on the stations that do. I don't read the papers that won't give us a fair shake. I read the ones that do, so that even if it's something I disagree with, but the best communication is our young people. But we have gotten better. We have far more vehicles for that. The Setting the Record Straight. We have people who go there now. So if they hear a bad story, they go to our Setting the Record Straight to hear for themselves. But I love bragging on Baltimore kids, and we have gotten much better. But that doesn't mean if you don't have a great idea, let us know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Dr. S.
Good evening.
I have three questions for you, centered around family and community engagement. The first one is parents want to help their children succeed, but often need guidance. What resources or workshops are being developed to equip parents with strategies to support learning at home, especially in crucial areas like math, like literacy and math?
Well, I will start, and then I will turn it over either to Chief High Cupboard or someone else on the SCE team. But I will say this, we have been working for years. I am so glad we are close finally on family guides for literacy and math that go to the next level in helping parents know what the key strategies are to help their young people at every stage of development. So it's going to look differently at high school, right, than it does in first grade. But these parent guides that are coming out are going to be able to detail for parents based on the math for that grade level. This is what your young person should be able to do. And these are the things you can do to help them. So, we're giving parents more guidance than just, for their younger student who's learning to read. We like to say, well, just read to them and get them a library card. Well, that's wonderful. And I have nothing against, clearly, reading to children or library cards. They're both necessary, but it's insufficient. And so we're working on parent guides that do, some of what I do with the members of my own family, my aunties and cousins, when I say to them, okay, when they're this age, you want to do a lot of rhyming games, right? When they're this age, you want to have them tell you back their multiplication tables and time them as they do them more quickly. You want to actually look at the parent guides, and we have bought curriculum materials that come with parent guides. So parents should ask their child's principal, but make sure you're there for curriculum nights. And if your school is not having a curriculum night, then ask about it. Ask about it and, let your principal know that the CEO said that there should be curriculum nights for parents. So this is an area that, I think we're finally getting traction in on the specificity. But I don't know if there's someone from FCE who wants to talk about the parent university and other things that actually have been in place for a while that I do think help. I just think that these guides and other things have been a long time coming, and we're finally moving into that. But is there anybody from FCE that would like to also
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Stanelisis.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Stone, and I am the Director of Family Engagement, and also online with us as well. And I apologize for my camera kind of being funky here, but also online with us is Char Hollingsworth, who's also the manager for our team, Family Engagement. And thank you for the question. And I know Dr. Stanelisis talked about a few things and how we are supporting families to support their young person at home. And as Dr. Santelises pointed out, Family University, which is a huge, we're really excited because it, we really have lifted this part of our work up. It is a great opportunity for families to co-create and really tell us what they need. I think oftentimes we make assumptions about what we feel and think that families need, but here's an opportunity in our Family University platform where parents can really get involved. There are also many resources on the Parent University platform, so we really encourage families to look at our Parent University platform for resources to help support with learning at home. We also have supports in place. We, this year in record numbers, with our Title I Parent PFE grant, which schools apply for to really host learning events at their school so that families can really and not only engage in the school and engage with the teachers and the school community, but also support their young person at home with strategies, tools, and skills that are offered. We support our schools. We have what we call a tiering system as well, which helps us in family engagement to really target what schools need additional support and help. We are, as I shared before, we had over 200 applications this year that schools applied for so that they could provide and host learning events to help support families with better understanding and engaging their young person at home. And also district-wide, as Dr. Stanelisis spoke about, this year we had a district-wide family math night, which was attended by well over 500 families. So we were really excited about that. But we also want to make sure that we are supporting schools at that grassroots level because we want families to also feel very connected to their schools because everyone needs a little something different. So we want to make sure that we are supporting schools to provide that level of support for our families. And the last thing I want to lift up for our multilingual families as well, we really have had a humongous effort in ensuring that our families who attend these events also have the information in their language. When they show up to events, they want to engage, but they also want to be able to understand. So we really make a strong effort to make sure that we have interpretation, translation, ways for the schools to engage with our multilingual families as well. And so we're going to continue that effort in a more robust way this up and coming year. So I'll pause there. I know I said a lot. And so if there are additional questions or if anyone or Dr. Santelisis or Chief High Cover would like to add, feel free.
I think you did a great job, Ms. Stone. You did a fabulous job. That's why I was.
Thank you.
I knew you were in here somewhere, so I wanted to give space. So I don't have anything to add except to say we're always looking for feedback of what can help, but I think Ms. Stone really said it. So.
Yes, I think she answered my third question. My last question that I had, I think she'll see it when it comes across the screen.
Great.
I think she just tapped into that one.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Glad I could help.
Yep. So the second part of the question was, how is the district working with community organizations, businesses, and faith-based groups to create more opportunities for family engagement and student support?
No, and thank you for this question as well, because I think it's important for parents and family to understand that in this administration, we have been very forthright about our belief that we cannot do it alone. Schools cannot make sure that every young person in Baltimore City is effectively educated without the involvement of our larger community. And so we have regular meetings with partners, with faith-based leaders, like, Act Now, Baltimore, and others. We had feedback sessions for members from the Muslim community. I have had conversations with some rabbis within the community. So with our faith leaders, we recognize that there is a very important role that they play in the community, that we really do need to tap into. I think the other piece is we've been very committed to making sure there's two-way conversations. And I want to shout out the family and community engagement team, because we made a switch about a year ago. Instead of us just hosting our own meetings and saying, hey, come and talk to the CEO, we actually have partnered with community-based organizations, very much like we're doing now. This is a partnership with PCAB that city schools parents, but the larger community can also be part of, can also be part of. And so that partnering with local organizations, frankly, allows us to go to the community instead of the community having to come to us. Same is true for businesses. And, there's been some transition in certain businesses in Baltimore City, but what we have done is made sure that we have kept those communication lines open. Many of you know that the Ravens have been good to Baltimore City schools for years. We have a stronger relationship with the Baltimore Orioles that's growing, and other organizations like Under Armour, who have just done amazing work to support things like recognizing our top scholastic students, and kids who are, as one of our partners says, are the kids that are doing the right thing. And so I think, excuse me if there's clutter in the background, we're doing a little something at home. So my view on this is, because we cannot do it alone, we need to get better at partnering, and that's what we have really focused on. And so whether it's businesses, the faith community, we've encouraged, even though I will tell you, it's harder. If you look at other districts, they don't work with nearly the number of community organizations that we do, but we have a wide variety of partners that are right here in Baltimore, locally based, people from our neighborhoods, people who know Baltimore, who have lived in Baltimore before I was CEO and will live in Baltimore long after I'm CEO. So I am actually very proud of the way that City Schools has really opened its doors for that kind of partnership. And we really have been trying to help our principals develop the capacity to partner better as well. And we have some school leaders that are excellent. We have other school leaders that struggle with it. So we have some variability in that, but we are working on it. We recognize it. Again, the FCE team has done a great job to bring that together. I know that the family community engagement communications team is pulling together fabulous database of all of our volunteers and partners, which did not exist previously in this form in Baltimore City. And so, again, we've got a ways to go, but if there's a theme from tonight, it's there's momentum And when you have momentum, it's easier to address the remaining challenges. Yes.
And if I can just add
go
quickly,
ahead, Chief.
Dr. S. Yeah,
Go ahead,
the
please.
database she referenced is called the PI portal. It's Partners in Education. You can find it on our website. If partners are interested in joining with us, they can sign up on PI. There's almost a match.com function where partner principals can look on there and see and say what their schools need. Partners can put on what they have to offer, and then they can match up. And we hosted a wonderful Pi Day event on Pi Day to celebrate our partners. And so we also have quarterly convenings where partners can come and learn more about the district and engage with us and ask questions. So if any partners are listening, look for Pi on our website and sign up, please.
Thank you so much, Chief. She's really good at making sure that I get the terminology right. So thank you again, Chief High Cupboard, for coming in and providing really essential information. And again, that was the PI portal. If any of our partners want to officially be part of that major resource for really coming in, supporting a school and partnering and working with the school. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Jason.
All right.
Are we good with this question?
Yes, I believe Miss Stone answered it. She answered it. She was right on point.
Good.
So we will go to Marvin with our next question.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Our next question is focusing around special education services and students with disabilities. So the question is, how is the district ensuring that students with disabilities receive full IEP compliance, adequate staffing of special education teachers and support staff, and access to necessary accommodations? The second part of this question was, what measures are being taken to address ongoing concerns from parents about resources, gaps, and service delays?
No, I think that is, clearly an understandable and critical question. We know that for example, our staffing shortages persist in two areas that nationally are a challenge for meeting the needs of our students with disabilities. And those two positions are speech language pathology and school psychology. So we know that we have ongoing challenge in those areas, but I'm here to say that city schools is currently experiencing fewer service delays than we were, particularly in the 1 or 2 years out of COVID-19. So we have been kind of proactively leveraging contracted providers who can come in to help provide continuity of services for our students with disabilities. We also are making sure that missed services are made up within the duration of the student's IEP. And again, this was challenging. The year and a half out from the pandemic was particularly challenging, but we are still working to catch those up. So any family who feels that their child has missed services should definitely call either our special education parent hotline or speak with their principal, or both. But we've been working with that. We have expanded our capacity also in speech through a blended services model that includes both speech language pathology assistants and virtual speech therapists. So basically what we have been doing to address those gaps and service delays is it's forced us to be more creative. It's forced us to partner. It's forced us to use blended technology and service models. But we are seeing a reduction in some of those challenges. They're there to be sure. So I would say to any family, make sure you flag it. with either our special education team centrally and our parent response unit, or make sure you circle back with your child's principal. I think the other piece that's important for our families with students with disabilities to know is Dr. Jabrowski, the special education team, has been going really deeply on IEP development and implementation, because I'm not saying anything that parents don't know, but that IEP is crucial in actually setting up and structuring the supports for young people with disabilities. And we have been receiving, as a way of, again, monitoring the effectiveness, is we have actually put in a new protocol for data cleansing. So our data cleansing of the district-wide data is happening more frequently, so that we'll be able to identify places, schools, categories of concern faster, so that we can address it. So those are some, tangible goals. I will say we are continuing, and we ramped up our training and development of IEP chairs, because a lot of them are the front lines around how a young person's services are written up and whether or not they initially get those services. So those are some areas within special education that we've been working on. And I will tell you that one of the things that we saw, frankly, unexpectedly for a couple, not more than one or two people, was the fact that we were also seeing some gain. So some of the work that we have been doing on the instructional components of the blueprint for special education are actually helping us to make sure that we're on target with that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you.
Right, so I'm back up. So it's a budget question. Many families are concerned about the impact of the recent school level budget cuts. Why did the district change its funding allocations in a way that led to the loss of teaching positions, paraprofessionals, and other essential staff?
No, this is a great question, and I'm glad, and leave it to PCAB to name the elephant in the room. I think what's important to know is that it is a couple of things. One, some of the budget cuts were actually expected. They were not surprised. We knew when we got ESSER funding, we would only have it for a 3 or 4 year period by design. It was not designed to be here that way. We made extra care to admonish school leaders and communities to be careful of what positions you put on these dollars, because they were temporary dollars. And as a district, we put far less positions on that temporary money than other school districts who are doing mass layoffs. For us, it is the end of contract. And one of the things that I really emphasized 3 years ago when this was coming in, and the mayor even said, look, CEO told us this money is going away. So this is not an unexpected cut. It is one we knew that was happening, because that money was only allocated for 3 years. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing that sometimes families won't necessarily see, and frankly, I don't think staff always sees it, is that this year, the money is continuing to be allocated according to the blueprint priorities. So in a number of cases, it's working as it should. The blueprint is designed to give more money to schools who have students with certain characteristics. So what that has led to is some real shifts in funding of particular schools. We have schools, and at least for traditional schools, we actually bolstered some schools' allotments. It might not feel like it. They would have actually had less money, because frankly, the schools that have more multilingual learners, for example, are going to get more money according to the blueprint. So it's not perfect. But a large driver of this is that the blueprint is doing what it was designed to do. And that was to give more dollars for concentration of poverty and other things. The other piece is some schools made the decision. I had one principal who shall remain nameless, who wanted to appeal, and we let schools appeal. And you should know that we have schools who come under, who would not have the money, who we centrally say, you know what, they actually do need more just for the school to function. And that is true. And in those budget collaboratives, we actually gave, I'd say maybe all but one, at most of those schools got something towards what they requested. And so that's some of the other shift. And then some of the other shift is I had to have hard conversations with principals when I said, I told you not to put full-time, people on this money, and you did. And so now, just like in any other organization, when that money runs out, you have that. And thank you, Arzu, who is the special assistant in the CFO's office. So thank you, Arzu, who's intimately connected to the budget. One of the things Arzu put in the chat, and she knows because that's a major part of her work, is that 26 schools received extra funding. When we looked at their petition for extra funding, when we sat in their budget collaboratives, as I described earlier, what Arzu is putting in the chat is the 26 of those schools received additional dollars. So we actually are up 6 to 7% last year. And this will be the final factor that I will list. But I will tell you overwhelmingly, the majority of that increase went to salary increases. They are part of our negotiated contracts with our collective bargaining partners. And again, I don't have a problem with that. I think our collective bargaining members deserve those increases, and all of them negotiated them. What is also true is that 6 to 7% is covering those increases. So just to recap, when we're talking about funding shift, the thing to keep in mind is that temporary money did what we told people it would do. It went away. And when it went away, that money went away and people associated with that money went away. So that's one. The second is that the blueprint is working as it should. And so what that means is that schools that have certain demographics of students are going to get more. And we already as a district did some buffering of schools who would not have gotten any increase. We made sure, taking money out of central allotment, that all schools had some increase. But that shift really points to what the blueprint is designed to do. And to that, Arzu's note that even with that, we still gave 26 schools, many of whom are smaller, who needed more for a number of their activities to be able to function. We pass that on. And then the third piece to recap that's impacting is that 6 to 7%, much of it went to cover the increased cost of salaries for, again, our collective bargaining agreements. So when people got raises, cost of living really took up the majority of that increase this year. And as Arzu noted also in the chat, every single school got more money. Now, if we had just allowed the blueprint to play out as it was, that might not have been the case. But we took money from central allocated work to make sure that every single school got an increase. And again, when money runs out, it runs out, folks. So that's why you have to say goodbye to people. And that's why when we were hiring, I said, when the money goes away, your contract goes away. So that's part of what you're experiencing in some of this. But I will also tell you, we are no way close to some of what other districts in Maryland are losing, and frankly, other districts across the country. I know principals are feeling the impact, and it's hard when you have to be the face of the decision. But I will tell you, there are no mass layoffs in Baltimore City. Contracts are ending, but we're not laying people off. Does that help?
Yep, that's a great explanation. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Ms. Tia, you are up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
With increasing concerns about school safety, what specific new measures, policies, or practices are being implemented, especially for the upcoming school year, to ensure students and staff feel secure, including improved supervision in hallways, lunchrooms, and school events? Additionally, how can parents support these initiatives and become more involved in shaping school climate policies?
No, thank you for the question. Clearly, that would be number one on any parent's mind, including my own. Don't talk to me about reading and math if I don't believe my children are safe. So we understand that. We're committed to that. I will say happily that the decrease in community violence, the decrease in youth violence across the city has had an impact on schools. So we're not where we fully want to be as either a city or as schools, but we are seeing some decreases in key areas. That being said, we are still working, I think, very heavily on what I like to call the preventative end, and that is healthy school cultures are far less likely to have unsafe conditions than schools that have not proactively achieved healthy school environments. So one of the pieces that we've really worked on is balancing our restorative practices with traditional discipline, right? So for example, in terms of our training, we have been, we added some positions centrally. I'm thrilled Eric Banzak is back with us to really focus on which schools, and we've targeted probably about 36 to 40 schools. I don't know if anybody from the Wholeness office is here, but we targeted certain schools that had particular challenges with climate, and our central team has been focused on developing their capacity specifically in the restorative practices, in positive climate and culture, because we know that that is important. We know that our young people don't need merely a punitive response to behavior. We need to get at the heart of the behavior before by making sure the conditions around culture are there. So we have increased our investment in that area. At the same time that we did have adjustments that we made in the code of conduct, right? We heard from our school leaders, look, there are some new conditions post-COVID that we have to address. A good example of that is the change we made in the code around banking or group, what I call group mob fights, right? So when a mob of, and I say mob deliberately, of young people try to jump one or two other young people, we didn't have a provision for that in our student discipline. We listened to our school leaders who said, like, this is making our job 10, 20 times harder. We need a code whereby it's not just one student that we're giving a disciplinary action, but where we can give all of the students who participate in that kind of behavior a consequence. We have also worked with our suspension division to make sure that we are maximizing suspensions where we need them. But we are also very, very proud of our, I don't want to call it our reversion program, but our redirection program. And that has really helped have a more positive response so that our young people are not repeating those behaviors. So really, it's a combination of a number of things. You've got to have some proactive, some needs to be effective response, and some did need to be more targeted consequences that we followed through on. The other piece that I think is important is again making sure that some of our newer principals, schools that already have challenging climates, have clear communication. Schools that, and my former school leadership days, schools that have kind of clarity about expected behavior are helping young people to learn how to engage in that, tend to have less of the kinds of incidents that make young people nervous. In terms of increased supervision, we had a number of, particularly at the high school level, some K-8s as well, who invested in mentors who can also help in being part of hallway monitoring, right? So it's not a monitoring like you would in, maximum security. These are actual mentors who are building relationships with young people who are helping with the passing period and are walking hallways so that young people are not just kind of loitering about, but if there's a challenge, there's someone there who already is serving in a mentor capacity that also helps in the supervision of areas like hallways and lunchrooms and school events. And then finally, what I will say on this is I want to give a shout out to our board, Commissioner Muhammad, Commissioner Coy, who have our safety and wholeness committee of the board. They have been listening to a lot of this. They are considering policy. I want to encourage parents, to attend some of those meetings. And I actually, that isn't my final one. My final one is that really, really pleased with the work that our new school police chief, Chief Shorter, has been doing with our police force, our school police officers, where we are still emphasizing some of what Baltimore City in the past did incredibly well, and that is building relationships with young people. The difference, I think the special sauce with school police is the overwhelming majority of school police got into their line of work in a school district because they care about young people. And so I think one of the things that Chief Shorter did while we had kind of a 2-year leadership void is he has really brought that leadership back, focus on professionalism, making sure that policies are in place, that our school police have what they need in terms of equipment to be able to do their job. We've had some modernizing of that, modernizing of the way information and reports are filed, and also deployment, taking a look at how are we deploying school police. And, one of the big issues that I check in with the chief on is, do we have enough school officers? So some of you might remember, a few years back, kudos to our board, where off cycle, we realized with the increased pay that was occurring for other safety professionals across the state, our folks, we had a major gap. And the board, to their credit, really said, we've got to be able to be competitive in this market. And they approved kind of a mid-cycle increase for school police. I think what Chief Shorter is doing is now really leaning into the recruitment of new officers. And so our vacancies are down. And the reason why that is important is because the more school police positions that actually get filled, not just the ones that are budgeted, but the ones that are actually filled, means that Chief and our school leadership, Chief Place Jose, can really look and say, where are we flexible and nimble across the district in deploying our school police for safety needs, like school events, like a school that might be experiencing some bubble up from the community, like making sure young people. One of my favorite examples was a young man, who said to me, the only reason I can stay after and do things like track and school newspaper is because I know that there's going to be a school police officer that is watching while I am waiting for the bus. And that's what they do. So we have a number of those positions in place. We did have our lock initiative that frankly was put on hold because of the executive order from the new administration in Washington about our ESSER, our ESSER dollars. And there was some news around that. But we were right in the middle, getting ready to jump in to make sure there were locks on doors. This was important for our teachers. This was a major issue, and we're partnering. We're hoping that we will be able to get that started again. If the advocacy for the funding is in fact successful. So hopefully that helps. But if there are other questions around this, I'm more than happy to answer them.
That was great. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Good
Mr. Mitchell,
evening,
you're up.
everyone. Yes, thank you. Good evening. Hi, Dr. S.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, and yourself?
Good, thank you, ma'am.
Great, great, great. This is about school safety and wholeness. 4 questions in one. What is the district's process for identifying, prioritizing, and addressing critical issues within Baltimore City schools? How are urgent or recurring problems prioritized? Excuse me, I lost my voice.
That's all right. You're doing fine.
What proactive steps are being taken to prevent bullying, both in person and online? And how can parents be involved in ensuring their children are safe from harassment?
So, a couple of things. The identification, of priorities, addressing critical issues, happens a number of ways. One of the things I said earlier was the information that I receive, that the board hears during public comment, talking with our partners. One of the ways, again, that we knew the group fight piece was a real issue was we heard from stakeholders. We heard from principals. We had community members who were telling me, on the side, Doc, really, this is getting out of hand. So and this administration really takes the posture that the listening is very important. It's why PCAB is an essential organization, because there are things over the years that PCAB has surfaced. So while we have formal periods, right, we have formal periods of time where we do get feedback. There's the school family survey is a great way to give that feedback. I will also say that we have to also be nimble in the moment. It's why we're constantly reviewing data. Again, I referenced Chief Shorter before. It's why I say to Chief, like, what are you hearing bubbling up? He has communication with city police so that we can get that information. But I do think the recurring problems get prioritized because our stakeholders flag it for us. I mean, I can be hard on principals at times, but I also take them very seriously. And if when school leaders were saying over and over again, this is an issue, this is a problem, it is having ears to the ground. And it is why I have not done this job just sitting in some office somewhere. It's why listening to people matters. It's why PCAB matters. There are issues that this body has brought to my attention. I've been like, PCAB surfaced that. And sometimes it's Pizzazzas, sometimes it's BTU. So, and sometimes it's mom and pops, on the corner when I'm walking. And they're like, well, Santa Lisa's, those suspensions aren't working, right? Or, that school over there, that principal needs some help because, we're seeing X, Y, or Z. So I think that is really, we have a variety of ways that we hear. I think our stat processes that are more formal help us track them. I think some of our cross division and sector partnerships with city agencies is another way that we hear, and groups like PCAB that surface them. On the question of proactive steps to prevent bullying, we now have someone, first time in however many years, for the last 2 years, we've had actually a dedicated central position to bullying, which has enabled us to have a more targeted bullying awareness month. I said, Karen Lawrence's work with families has helped to be proactive with that. I will say one of the ways parents should be involved is flagging it to the school leader, and then again, flagging it to the ombudsman and others if you don't feel as if it's being addressed. And I will say this, and I'm going to say it because I am also a parent, not instigating or raising the heat in conflicts with other parents. I will tell you some of the scariest responses we have had to make have actually not been child to child. It has been adult to adult, parent to parent, parent to student. So I do think it might seem like a small thing, but parents demonstrating de-escalation, reinforcing that at home, some of the most glaring and frankly ugly response and violence acts that we've had over the years have been instigated by parents telling kids to get back at folks. And it has resulted, frankly, in some of the starkest examples of bullying and everything else that we can find. Now, if you are a parent and you don't feel as if somebody is addressing that, then that is when you can come in, ask for mitigation. At the Central, we have a central team that specializes in de-escalation, and we can bring parties here. Schools have it as well, but if you feel like the school's not handling it centrally, we can. And then I do think we have been looking at some of our bullying policies, and we actually had a spike in bullying that I actually thought was a good sign because it meant people were actually reporting it for the first time. And so the Bullying Awareness Month, talking about it, including it in training for school leaders, and making sure that parents and families always have a channel. Yes, at the school level, but if they don't feel that the school is responding, at the central level to surface any issues. So I will just say to parents, the more that you can reemphasize de-escalation, the more you can emphasize that children should go talk to an adult if they feel that adult has been unresponsive, be it principal, secretary, teacher, then you as a parent should head centrally. But I will tell you, one of the biggest challenges we have had in the last four to 5 years has been the escalation in violence from parents. And I'm just being honest. And I've had principals say that to me. So we've all got to kind of take responsibility and model what we want our young people to demonstrate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How y'all doing, family? Thank you, Dr. Santalisa, for always being the support and the work that, as far as restorative practice, like the governor just signed the bill. It's been so great. So and it all you always champion the work. So I even applaud what you said about mentors. No longer hall monitors being more like mentors, and many schools like Pimlico elementary middle school trained all their mentors, hall monitors, in restorative practice. So
yes,
they're able to go ahead and mediate
that's right.
situations. All Absolutely. Right, so let me go ahead and go to the target question. In the event of emergency lockdowns or safety threats, how does the district ensure that families receive timely updates and clear instructions?
Yeah, so in the event of emergencies, those kinds of things, we actually do have a protocol around that. We will notify parents via robocall. We will notify families. We always put it on the website, social media. If it's a minor situation, the communication comes from the school only to the families that are directly affected. So it's not going to go to the whole school. If your child heard Johnny and Sonia, Tina and Sonia had a spat, it's not going to the whole school. It's going to Tina and Sonia's family. Moderate situations that involve like a part of the school, an initial update from the school or city schools, and a final update once the event has been resolved. So at that level, families will hear, what happened and what the resolution is. In terms of major emergencies, those that affect the whole school, like a lockdown or something happening in the community or any of that, updates come every 30 to 60 minutes from city schools. As the situation evolves, we have been working on our response and communication protocols to make sure that those are much tighter. And that information can come through Thrill Share, and that communicates with families in real time during emergencies. So Thrill Share is a platform that schools and districts use to manage and distribute information during emergencies. It helps to form one centralized place, right? It's not my friend saw this on Facebook, somebody else's child texted them. It's one place, and it's very useful during emergencies. And then, so that's that question.
I do.
Please go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Mr.
I didn't know. I was about to go and ask the second question because
Go
you
ahead.
answered that so eloquently.
No,
All right.
please go ahead.
All right. So, how does a district address attendance issues due to transportation? I do want to speak on that. I've been part of too many attendance teams, and this constantly comes up as far as transportation, and I can't get my son to school for whatever reason. So like that this is dear to heart, and it's kind of like a toughie because an attendance team, we're sitting around thinking like, how are we going to remedy this situation?
Yeah, no, and it is an issue. And just by way of timing, Mr. Witherspoon, today I had a 4:00 meeting with my CEO student advisory group on this very issue of transportation. We know transportation is a challenge. Baltimore Banner has reported on it. The Fund for Educational Excellence did a report on it before that. It is an ongoing challenge. We are working, we continue to be engaged with MTA. And I've got to tell you, I will still continue to say, people say, well, the school department should just have yellow buses. Having a troop of yellow buses throughout Baltimore City, thank you, Mr. Wilson, it's just not practical for this kind of larger environment. Sure, will we explore maybe a targeted bus here or there, but this is not, Northern Baltimore County. We are not a school bus rich kind of area. And I hate to say this, I've said it before and I will say it again. This state, the state of Maryland, Baltimore City, made the decision not to invest in mass transit. And this is what happens when you don't invest in mass transit. This is what you get. You get kids who are waiting. I heard from young people today, we had quotes of young people who finished athletic practice. They're high school students. They finished athletic practice and literally a bus was an hour to an hour and a half late. And an hour to an hour and a half for an athlete who then has to go home and do homework. And I'm telling you, even my own daughters, the closer it gets to 10:30, 11, the more their attention wanes on their homework. An hour and a half waiting for a bus, wasted time, is a problem. And I do think that we will continue to advocate. We are willing to look at some of the bell schedule. I heard from young people just this afternoon who were telling me, some of the kids they interviewed, their first class of the day is the class with the worst grades. They might have A's in other classes. They have a C in their first period class because they are never able to get there on time. It is a problem. it's a problem. And so one of the things that, we are working with is, scheduling. Is it possible to schedule, certain core classes at a particular time? Can we do that? But the challenge, with a lot of this, I'm just going to be, honest. And I appreciate people putting in the chat, that even waiting for the O's game, folks were waiting 2 to 3 hours. And it's horrible. I will tell you the scariest parts for me were what the young people reported about their safety. We're talking about kids getting to school on time. I have kids who have, watched grown folks pull off all their clothes on the middle of public transportation, and you're 15 and you're seeing a grown man full naked on public transportation. Somebody urinates right next to you. Somebody whips out a gun on public transportation. I mean, I'm not saying this to scare people, but this is real. These are real stories from our young people. And we have to advocate. I was heartened today that the young people I spoke to today, they wanted to know. They said, Dr. Santelises, who do we call? Who should we have meetings? They have stories that they are putting together that poignantly tell this. And I think we are going to have to continue to push on this because, as I have said before, people don't like it. Reporters don't like it. The reality is that Baltimore City has paltry public transportation because people over a number of years have decided that this is not a priority. And it's absolutely crazy that this continues to exist. So I have told everybody I will sit at whatever table, but as Mr. Witherspoon said in his, his affirmation, to think you're going to have a fleet of yellow buses pouring through Baltimore City to address this problem is just unrealistic. So I said to the young people, if you want to convene a group to come out with some suggestions, I will be part of that, with the time, I have left. And the other piece that I have said, to be very, very honest, is that if they want to convene a group and hold the group responsible for real recommendations, I will be part of that as too. But it is an issue. I know some teachers try to work around it. I can see in the chat, our teachers are having to adjust, but we've got to be mad enough as a collective community that we say enough is enough on this. And the former First Lady of the United States, when Michelle Obama tells her story about getting into a magnet school in Chicago, she tells similar stories of bus rides, but it shouldn't be that you're waiting for the bus for 2 hours. It's bad enough if the ride is an hour, to then have to wait an hour for a long bus ride is just unconscionable. But we've got to face the facts on the funding. And it's wrong and it's horrible. And like I said, I'm more than willing to sit down, but there's some fundamental questions. And I was just so proud of the young people today for saying that they're going to advocate on their own behalf. They're not waiting for us to do it for them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Dr. Santelises. Am I coming through clear?
You are, sir. Thank you so much.
Good. My question is in regards to the future of virtual learning and what steps are being taken to address concerns from parents about the future stability and accessibility of virtual learning, especially as the district undergoes structural changes?
Yeah, no. So we did hear a lot from parents who absolutely want this option. And so in January of last year, January of 2024, the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners did vote to approve the conversion of the virtual learning program into a virtual learning school that serves students in grades 5 through 12 for the 2024-25 school year, that's this year, and from grades 6 through 12 after that. So schools receive the per pupil funding, which is one of the main reasons for the change from a program to a school. So that school is there. The virtual school went through a naming process. So that's where the name Brave came from. And that was, they were part of both the middle and high school choice fair. So when young people, families came through the choice fair, they saw the virtual Brave option there. It really is, students who have a great reason, compelling reason for why they believe they would be successful in that setting. They are the ones, who attend. And then, students that, were not there at least 80% of the time, who want to file an appeal process, they can do that. Brave will continue to provide synchronous instruction using city schools teachers and curriculum. So we will continue to enhance that. It's still newer for us, but as we all know, 2020 forced us to really get much better at virtual than we were previously. But yes, we will continue. Brave will continue to support students, will continue to provide opportunities for leadership and staff to actually get better at really maximizing that platform.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises.
Sure thing.
Thank you again for your time this evening. It has been a pleasure, as always, to have you join us and share and be candid with, allowing us to ask you questions, and you just being candid and transparent with your answers and sharing with our community. This has been a great opportunity to learn and hear. And as we are closing out this school year and jumping into summer soon,
yes,
we are very excited. And with that, I have one more question for you, just because
sure,
it's not on there, but
that's all right.
And this is a good one. It's
good one. It's all right.
What are you looking forward to this summer?
Oh my goodness. What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to beaches
yes.
for me personally. But I'm also looking forward to, I always love the looks on our young people's faces when they participate in Youth Works. And I love that. I'm looking forward to our summer graduation. I'm so thrilled at the fact that our young people can now earn credits over the summer, which is helping to increase our graduation rate. And it's one of my favorite graduations of the year. And I tell the young people, as many folks do that day, that it doesn't matter when you graduate, it's the fact that you walk across the stage and you've completed their classes. So I always look forward to that summer graduation. And I cannot tell a lie, I love the fact that we have 4-day work weeks. For at least, I think it's either 4 or 6 Fridays. Yes. Staff really enjoy that. It makes it really feel like summer. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
That is great. Thank you so much again. It is a lot. Your job, I tell people all the time, is one of the biggest jobs in this city for sure. And understand that there's a lot going on and a lot of things to manage, and you're doing it. We are glad to be partners with the school district, and hopefully we can expand. And thank you for your team that was on tonight and yes. answering in the chat, answering on the call, and just sharing, because this is what we want to see more of, especially with PCAB and giving our families. And these are all questions that have come from the community. So we didn't create these ourselves. These are coming from the community. So this is great. So people did get a taste of it. And hopefully you will be able to join us at our public meeting in June. If your schedule allows for it, if it's a quick, just to come in and get a quick bite and say hi to everybody. But we'd love to have you all and anyone from the district to come as well, to join us and break bread in June at Unity Hall. So thank you again for all you do and for this evening. And we look forward to seeing everybody as we move forward. I'm gonna just go through a couple of announcements to
No,
get us off of here
absolutely.
quickly.
I just want to say thank
Yes.
you. You guys have an amazing leadership team. I love my meeting with the exec committee, and I love that you bring the questions from the community. So thank you, PCAB. You guys are absolutely fabulous partners in the work. I can't imagine having been CEO all these years without your support and assistance. So I just wanted to say that. I didn't mean to cut you off, sir.
No, not at all. Thank you. No, this is your time with us, so we appreciate you for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
PCAB Policy Committee, Tuesday, May 27th at 6 p.m. is the next policy committee for PCAB. And again, please join us for our end of the year public meeting. You want to RSVP right there. It is June 19th. We will be at the Baltimore Unity Hall. We hope that you will all join us. This is open to the public. Open to the public. This is where we bring you, but we need you to RSVP because we need to know how much food to have there as well. So please RSVP, join us, share it out with your networks. This would be great. We are your PCAB members. We are excited and proud to be a part of PCAB and honored to hold these positions and serve you and being the voice of the district. So thank you all always. And of course, always check us out on the website. Join a committee, as Chief High Corbett brought up earlier. Join a committee. You don't have to be a full PCAB member to be on the committee. And you can be a part of all the work we're doing, be a part of the voice, be a part of the policy, be a part of the budget stuff, everything. Get invited to some fun places as well. And you get treated like royalty when you come because you're a part of PCAP. So, you know, that's what it's about. So definitely join the committees. I mean, you want to be down with us. Follow us on all social media. We are working hard to promote everything we're doing. And, you know, we are going to be in recruitment season again. So, of course, we're always recruiting for committee members, but we will be recruiting for PCAB members. So please keep a lookout on our social media for that, and we'll be announcing it again during our June meeting. But with that, I want to say thank you all again. Have a great night. Tonight we went over about 7 minutes, and I apologize, but we had some great discussion and great conversation with our CEO, so we appreciate that. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on June 19th at Unity Hall. Have a great night, people.